Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and we have nightly recaps, but the games today really weren't that great. I would say the best game was the very last one, which was the Clippers versus the Suns, and it really got interesting because that last game, the Clippers were running a super micro lineup with 5 guards. I think their tallest player was probably Westbrook, and they were still able to make it a really close game, but at the end of the day, the Suns were just better. Kawhi was out for this game with a knee injury. PG still isn't back, so it was the Russell Westbrook show, and he did play great. And then the other game was Warriors and Kings, and the Kings just got blown out. They couldn't make a single three. Really had a hard time grabbing some defensive rebounds. The Warriors were able to capitalize off a bunch of offensive rebounds, and the Kings didn't really stand a chance because of how bad their shooting was. And for that first game of the night, we had Philadelphia versus the Nets. The 76ers ended up winning this game. They're up 3-0 in the series, so it's most likely going to be a sweep. I did predict the Sixers to win. I thought the Nets would be able to at least get one game off, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. I figured the Nets would get mollywopped anyway. But this game, while it was very interesting, just in terms of what was happening, especially with Embiid, because he only took 13 shots in this game. He was in foul trouble, but I think majority of the problem was the fact that he just wasn't really looking for a shot as he has been in these last couple of games. But I think the most interesting thing to come out of this game was just that the referees have just been kind of inconsistent, especially based off how the other referees in other games this postseason have been officiating. I know a lot of people have been kind of complaining, especially JJ Redick. He thought that maybe the referees were kind of favoring the Kings in their series, and while I don't necessarily agree with that, I think definitely people share that same sentiment, especially Warriors fans. And I'm sure you can look at other series as well and complain about how refs are officiating those games. And we can obviously refer back to Draymond Green getting that flagrant 2 by stomping on Domantas Sabonis in that game 2 and ultimately getting suspended for game 3. And I think that's kind of like the benchmark that I want to start at, because one of the first plays of the 76ers Nets game was Claxton getting an alley-oop, but Claxton dunked the ball and Embiid was guarding him. Embiid kind of stumbled. Claxton wanted to show him up a little bit, so he did a little AI step over, staring him down, and Embiid decided to retaliate with a kick, and although it didn't hit him in the groin, it hit Claxton's leg, and I think that's ultimately why the refs decided not to give him a flagrant 2. And then we get later on into the game in the second half, and James Harden is being covered by Royce O'Neal, and he kind of gives him a little chicken wing into the crotch area, and the refs decided that that is what qualified as a flagrant 2 because they felt like it was an intentional move by James Harden. And because it was a flagrant 2, that means James Harden was ejected from this game. But again, 76ers won. Tyrese Maxey was great in that game. But I just want to talk about just how inconsistent that call is. I understand that you can look at what actually happened with Embiid, and sure, although Embiid just kicked Claxton's leg, it could have been a whole lot worse. As Claxton is stepping over him, he's exposing his entire groin area, as I'm sure all of us are aware of, and that could have been a whole lot worse. And I'm telling you right now, if that happened, I think they would have definitely given him a flagrant 2, but because it hit the leg, I think that's why the refs are saying that that wasn't eligible for flagrant 2, and I just think that's so dumb, because I think the whole idea behind the flagrant 2 is the intention, and there's just no way you can legitimately tell me that the intention of Embiid was not to at least kick him and make him feel something, right? And even if it was in the leg, it was intentional. I understand that, what Claxton did, I guess, was wrong based off, they don't like the taunting rule, right? Like later on in that game, Nick Claxton got a second technical because he taunted Joel Embiid, so he eventually got ejected as well. So it's obvious that what Nick Claxton did was wrong. But bro, the reaction should not be an immediate kick into the midsection of a player. That just shouldn't happen, especially, again, when we look at what Draymond Green did, his reaction was to stomp on someone in their midsection. It just doesn't make sense to me how they can give him a flagrant 2 for that, but then refs at another game. It's not like this happened 2 years ago and we forgot what happened. This just happened a couple of days ago. So I just cannot understand how we can just completely forget that, and we just have completely different standards for what qualifies as a flagrant 1 and a flagrant 2. And then even to go back to James Harden's flagrant 2, if you believe that is a flagrant 2, you can't objectively tell me that what Joel Embiid did was not as bad as what James Harden did. I think what James Harden did, it was definitely deserving of at least a technical and at the worst a flagrant 1, but a flagrant 2 was just way overboard in my opinion. So again, if you think that was a flagrant 2, I think Joel Embiid's flagrant 1 had to be upgraded to a flagrant 2, and if you didn't think Joel Embiid's kick was a flagrant 2, then that means James Harden, little chicken wing to the nuts, also shouldn't be a flagrant 2, because again, you just can't tell me that that was worse than what Joel Embiid did. I'm usually not the one to complain about refereeing. I feel like refs try their very best. I think they mostly do a really good job at officiating games. Again, every once in a while, you're going to have some questionable calls. We're not perfect. Humans are just not perfect, so I'm just not going to hold that against someone, especially in high-pressure games. Obviously, you have to work your way up to get there, and you get graded based off that stuff. But again, everyone makes mistakes. But we're in the first round in the playoffs, and just stuff like that is just so annoying to me because I am someone who really appreciates consistency, and when you're just lacking consistency, especially in a short amount of time, that's just something that really annoys me, and I hope throughout the playoffs this doesn't continue to happen. We've had some stupid people like Rick Boucher over at FS1, but he was pretty much saying that, you know, the officiating from the Kings side is just so bad that pretty much the entire playoffs deserves an asterisk, and if we're going to start these conversations already in the first round, then we're pretty much doomed for NBA discourse for the rest of the playoffs. So I really hope that the referees do kind of tune it in. One thing I did like though, if we do go back into that Clippers game, Westbrook was really ripping the ref at the end of the fourth quarter, and he actually let it go. And usually in those moments, they would get technical fouls. Westbrook in that moment would have gotten a technical foul, and he didn't. And again, that's just lacks consistency because any other time, refs are going to call the T. And that time they didn't. And while I do appreciate it because I did think they missed that call, I just hope that as the playoffs continue, if something like that happens again, they don't go ahead and blow the whistle and give someone a T, because again, that's just going to lack consistency. Well, those are my thoughts on the games tonight. Again, the games really weren't that interesting. I thought the refs were honestly the biggest surprise today, which again is a problem and I hope doesn't happen. But if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like and sub. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so it'd mean a lot. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.